Hello, hello. My name's Sammy, aka Fortune Boy. I'm here today to show you all the instruments that I've got backlogged for review. And the reason they're all backlogged is because the past 2 weeks I've been suffering with pneumonia. 100% don't recommend. The good news is I've gone through antibiotics and everything, feeling much, much, much better, but my stamina and my energy levels are much lower. So I'm just going back into work, kind of not full on, just taking it pace by pace. But I've been so annoyed because I have all these wonderful instruments I really want to talk about and show you, but just haven't had the time and the energy to do anything about it. So consider today a first little preview of all the instruments that I've got, just so I can show you off, tell you a bit about them, and we can get sound samples at least for each instrument. All the ukuleles today were sent to me by Flight Ukulele. I'm a Flight Ukulele artist. I do not get paid for them. I do not get paid for the reviews. I'm allowed to borrow them so I can show them off to you. I'm a big nerd. I enjoy it, and hopefully you do too. So I received a package with 5 ukulele-related items in total: 2 tenors, 2 baritones, and a mini bass. And this is the first tenor that I opened. This is the Flight Nomad Tenor. Now, I'll be fully honest with you, I had no idea a Flight Nomad tenor even existed. The Flight Nomad I know as a baritone model. It's all solid mahogany. And so when this turned up for review, I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I unboxed it and got to just literally sit and stare at it for a long, long time. So there's a few fun factors about the Nomad that make it a little different to me. The one is, first of all, like I said, it's all solid mahogany, and the wood grain on this is absolutely beautiful. I didn't expect it to be such a looker, actually, until, like I said, literally unboxing it and then seeing the wood grain versus all the dark black accents around it. It reminds me of the Fireball. That's the closest model I can see that I've been blown away by. That's where it's solid wood and then this black accent. It looks like a different variant of the Fireball, but obviously different wood and half the price. Other interesting things we've got going on is this headstock. This is the typical headstock for Flight's baritone line, the Aurora, the Nomad, the Maya, the Lily, the Nora. They all have this headstock. So I don't think I've met a tenor with this headstock yet. So that's it's quite sweet to see it. And now something very interesting to me, at least, is that there's no pickup installed in this one. Usually with a Flight Ukulele, we get a double C1 pickup installed. This kid, we do not, which I really appreciate. You'll know that from my 4SB model, I don't have a pickup included in it because I want people to put whatever pickup they like in it. This is exactly the same. If you're not interested in a pickup, there's nothing that's been drilled in. It's much lighter. Yeah, so if you're after a pickup-less ukulele, this might be a worthy choice. Other thing to note is we have a nice string through bridge here, so no bridge pins for all you bridge pin haters. So let's hear the Flight Nomad tenor in action. The Flight Nomad tenor retails for around €300 for an all-solid mahogany instrument. That's a good amount of money. Look out for a full review coming soon. Now, the second tenor I received was this lovely lady. This is the Flight Navigator tenor. Now, if you think you've seen one of these in my hands before, that is because I did review the baritone model. Fun fact, I asked for the tenor to review and Flight accidentally sent me the baritone model. So as a big apology, they sent me the tenor model. I found it hilarious because actually I was really happy to play the baritone. I'm a big baritone player, so loved that chance. But I also really wanted to have a look at the tenor model and see how it sounds. It's a nice combination of a solid rosewood body, and then we have this stunning flamed maple top in Sunburst. Now, if you go back and watch my review of the Navigator baritone, you'll know that Sunburst is not my most favorite thing, but the kind of the flamed maple effect on here, I said looks like fire, and in person really does look really nice. The Navigator has a bridge pin, and it also does come with a pickup with the double C1U pickup included. I find rosewood has a nice warmth to it, and the flamed maple usually always is like a glass-like sound to me, just kind of molds to whatever the wood is underneath. So let's go have a listen to how the Flight Navigator Tenor sounds, and let me know what you think. The Flight Navigator Tenor retails for around €509. Again, look out for the full review coming soon. And now for something that looks right at home with me. This is the Flight Nora baritone. Flight have just released a Flight Nora and a Flight Lily. They are steel strong ukuleles, the baritone ukuleles. You might remember my review of the Flight Maya. Essentially, Flight Maya, Nora, and Lily are all kind of sisters. All the same specs apart from different woods and obviously very different appearances. With a solid spruce top, dyed completely jet black, just like Sammy's 4SB models. And then around the back and sides, we have this absolutely gorgeous laminate mahogany, but it's kind of this nice orange kind of softwood color. It's really, really, really gorgeous to look at again, and kind of ripples in the light. Now, design-wise, these kids are cool because also the rosette and all the binding here is mango. So we kind of have like 3 different wood grains going on. We have the spruce that's completely black, these lovely little mango parts here, and then the mahogany. And just like its sisters, the Maya and the Lily, they all come with the double C1U pickup in. So if you do need to plug this thing in, it's ready to go. Anyway, let's have a listen to the Flight Nora baritone. The Flight Nora retails for roughly around €345. I'll be reviewing the Nora versus her sister, the Lily, just so you can hear the two back to back and see which one you prefer. And speaking of the Lily, here she is. This is the Flight Lily baritone. Again, sister to the Nora and the Maya, so we're talking steel strong baritone. All 3 sisters, the Maya, the Nora, and the Lily, are going to feel pretty much exactly the same. But what the Lily brings is she has a solid cedar top, and then we have this laminate mango. So, fun story, when I opened the box of ukuleles, like I said, I spent honestly about 20-25 minutes just looking at the Nomad and not kind of getting over how pretty it was. And then I was very excited to meet these two because I thought that the Nora was obviously going to be Sammy's bread and butter because it looks very much color-wise what I enjoy. So imagine my surprise when I opened up the Lily, which initially I thought looks like the Aurora, which is a great looking uke, but the Lily is I'm fully in love with design wise. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now things that stick out to me is we have this lovely rosette here. It's a dark chocolatey brown. I'm not sure on the exact wood because it just says on Flight's website elegant, but they're not wrong. It does look elegant. And then we have this nice black dyed binding and cutaway here that separates the cedar perfectly with the mango. And then the fret markers here, we kind of have these side block inlays. And again, there's a couple of details here. There's a gold trim just around the neck and the fretboard. It's really hard to see. It kind of looks like another string, but you can kind of see that. And it's also around the rosette as well. Now, these are minor details, but Sammy really does care about design. And honestly, this looks like a much more expensive ukulele. So like I said, review-wise, I'll be pitting it against the Nora so you can hear the two back-to-back and see what difference the woods truly make. But for the moment, let's hear the Flight Lily baritone ukulele. The Flight Lily retails for roughly about €380. That makes it around €40 more expensive than the Nora, but in my opinion, it looks like the much more premium model of the two. And finally, we have something that's not a ukulele. This is the Flight Mini Bass Lite. Now, those who know me will know that I'm a bass player. It's my first instrument. I've just finished teaching a bass course, so I was really excited to get my hands on this because I already own the Flight Mini Bass and the Flight Mini JV. So my main thing was basically I wanted to get my hands on it and see why it's called the Lite. Lite usually assumes that it's a cheaper model. That's essentially what we're going for, which it is. It retails for roughly, what, €100 cheaper? It's €239, this bass. But usually that means we have some sacrifices, right? Either the pickup's not good, the wood's not great, it won't be as nicely made. There's something about it that should make it feel cheaper and not as premium as the two other basses. So I've spent a lot of time with this bass. I've taught on it in the bass course, and I've been playing it quite a lot. And I am struggling to find what the Lite means. I need to talk to my parents at Flight to see exactly what's going on there. But again, like I said, it's a cheaper bass, so we imagine it's a cheaper feeling bass. But so far, it doesn't feel like a cheaper bass. Sound-wise, it has the same pickups as the mini bass, so it sounds fantastic. If you think light means weight, then do not. She's a heavy, heavy girl, so there's a really good weight. It's a solid poplar body. So yeah, it's a bit of an anomaly, really. So, like I said, I was really curious. I was expecting it to sound much worse, feel much worse, but none of these things have been true so far. And funnily, it does come in three colors. We have this basically baby blue color, we have a seafoam green, and then we have an all solid black. In all honesty, I was expecting this to be the worst color. This is the one I wanted the least, but she's got quite a charm to it. It's a really, really, really nice blue, and it contrasts really well with the black. But still, I think the seafoam and the black models will look even better. So one interesting thing to note is that we still have the 23-inch scale, which is exactly the same as the other Flight Mini basses, but this bridge is much, much higher. And now this is where all this is above my pay grade, because basically the bridge is much higher and we have essentially much thicker strings attached. So what I mean by that is the E string is the same thickness as a B string on a 5-string. And then the A string is actually the same gauge as a regular E string. The D string is the same gauge as an A string. And then the G string is the same gauge as a D string. I was confused by this, but apparently it is a thing also. What it means is that kind of the tension is quite tight, but the sound is plenty thick. So before I review the bass, I'll be talking to Mom and Dad of Flight to see why those choices were made, just for sheer curiosity. Anyway, let's hear the Flight Mini Bass Lite. As I mentioned earlier, the Flight Mini Bass Lite retails for roughly around €239. Now, the last thing on my list isn't actually an instrument at all. It is the Soundbrenner Wave in-ear monitors. Now, if you've never heard of Soundbrenner, they're a company that I adore. In my last YouTube video, software that I use as a music teacher, I mentioned Soundbrenner. They're essentially a company that focus on metronomes. They have a metronome watch called the Core, which I love. And they asked if I wanted a pair. So I said yes, because basically the universe is always looking after me. I've been looking for some in-ear monitors to use when playing live. That means when I'm playing live, festivals, gigs, or anything, I can pair them with this lovely Behringer P1 in-ear amplifier, and woof, there we go. I've got some in-ear monitors, and I've thought it would be much more complicated than that. The Waves come in this tiny, tiny little carry case, and the great thing about them is that actually they can be used as reference headphones as well. So that means if you're mixing or playing anything in the studio or recording anything where I need to hear the audio, instead of wearing big over ears, I can put these in and I can still hear everything outside. They come with two different types of tips to put in your ear, foam or silicone. Now the silicone ones basically enable you to hear everything as you normally would if you weren't wearing headphones, and that works tremendously well. And then the foam tips actually are kind of noise cancelling. So if you just want to put them in and listen and not focus on any outside noise, then they have noise cancellation. I've been really loving using them, and the fun thing is, like I said, I've been using them in the studio and can't wait to actually give them a proper test and utilize them at festivals and play live. The Soundbrenner Waves retail for roughly about 120 euros, but with a nice discount code provided by me, for example, then you can get them much cheaper. And you can find all the links for all the instruments I've talked to today right down in the comments. So there we go. Sam has got a lot of things in his backlog that he really needs to review and show off, and I can't wait to do that. Illness has been very annoying, pushing me back and making me just feel like shit, but it is what it is. And like I said, I'm taking it easier, going back into it, so don't worry about that. Any questions about the instruments I've shown you today, please leave them in the comments. Like I said, I'll be doing full reviews on all of these things, so I can put that forward and think about that when I'm doing the review. Enjoy the rest of your day. Love you lots.